we're going to be tackling renewable energy, and
Okay.
our primary source might surprise you.
Oh,
It's a children's book called Renewable Energies for Kids.
interesting.
But don't worry, we're not going full-on ELI 5 here.
Okay.
But I was genuinely impressed by how this book lays out the basics.
Yeah, what's fascinating about this book is how it distills these complex ideas without, dumbing them down.
Right.
It's a great reminder that even when we're deep in the weeds of, energy policy,
Yeah.
sometimes going back to those core concepts can spark new insights.
Exactly.
Plus, this deep dive is a great way for listeners to, refresh their knowledge and stay up to date.
Exactly. The book jumps right in defining renewable energy as power from sources that never run out,
Okay.
sun, wind, water, and Earth's heat.
Right.
It really hits home the contrast with fossil fuels, which are finite and,
Yeah.
well, let's just say they've caused their fair share of planetary drama.
Right, and the book connects those dots nicely for young readers, making it clear that choosing renewable energy is also about combating climate change. It's laying the foundation for understanding those bigger picture connections early on.
All right, so Chapter 1 is all about solar energy.
Okay.
And I have to share this wild fact.
All right.
1 hour of sunlight hitting Earth
Wow.
could power the entire world for a whole year.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's mind-blowing when you think about how much energy is just pouring down on us from the sun.
It really highlights the incredible potential of solar.
Right.
And the book does a good job of explaining, how we actually harness that energy.
Yeah.
The whole, sunlight hitting silicon cells, electrons moving, generating an electrical current.
Uh-huh.
It's a simplified explanation, of course, but...
Yeah, and I thought it was cool how the book described all the different types of solar panels out there.
Yeah.
Polycrystalline, monocrystalline,
Wow.
thin film, and even some more specialized ones like organic and bifacial panels.
Oh, cool.
It's way more diverse than I realized.
And that diversity is key because different panels have strengths and weaknesses depending on, where and how they're being used.
Right.
Like, think about flexible, thin film panels for curved surfaces, or those super powerful concentrated solar systems.
Wow.
Using mirrors to focus sunlight for industrial processes.
Yeah.
We're way past the days of just slapping a basic panel on a roof.
Yeah, it's kind of like how smartphones have evolved, right?
Right.
From those clunky early models to the specialized tech we have now.
Exactly.
So the book explains that energy from solar panels is direct current
Okay.
and needs to be converted to alternating current by an inverter before it can be used in our homes and businesses.
That's a crucial step because it allows solar to seamlessly integrate with our existing power grid.
Right.
It's not some separate off-grid thing. It's becoming part of the system itself.
And of course, the book emphasizes the eco-friendly side.
Yeah.
Solar is clean, renewable, and significantly reduces our reliance on those pesky fossil fuels.
It's important to remember that even solar panel manufacturing has an environmental footprint.
Right.
But compared to the ongoing impact of burning fossil fuels,
Of course.
it's a much more sustainable choice.
Yeah.
Plus, the technology is constantly improving, leading to more efficient manufacturing processes and less waste.
And let's not forget the financial benefits.
Oh, yeah.
The book mentions lower electricity bills,
Uh-huh.
potentially selling excess energy back to the grid,
Right.
and even government incentives to encourage going solar.
Those financial benefits can be a major driver for people making the switch.
Right.
And as the cost of solar technology continues to drop, it's becoming increasingly accessible.
Speaking of harnessing natural forces,
Yeah.
Chapter 2 of the book dives into wind energy.
Okay.
I was impressed by how they broke down those giant wind turbines into terms even a kid could grasp.
What's interesting is how they tie that explanation back to historical windmills.
Yeah,
It shows that the principle of harnessing wind power isn't new. We've just gotten way better at it.
totally. So the book explains the three main parts: power blades and transmission system.
Okay.
And they nail the importance of tower height for capturing stronger winds higher up.
It's like they're subtly introducing the concept of wind shear, how wind speed increases with altitude.
Yeah.
They use the simple analogy of holding your hand out of a moving car window to illustrate how wind pushes against the blades, causing them to spin.
It's a great visual.
Yeah.
And then they explain how that spinning motion powers a generator, converting mechanical energy into electricity.
Right.
The book even includes illustrations of a windsock for determining wind direction and an anemometer for measuring wind speed.
They do a fantastic job of weaving in those real-world connections.
Yeah.
They also explain the control system inside the turbine that monitors wind direction and speed, adjusting the blade angle for maximum efficiency and protection against strong winds.
Right. So then the book covers the two main types of wind farms,
Huh.
onshore and offshore.
Okay.
It emphasizes that these farms are popping up all over the world, becoming a significant contributor to global renewable energy production.
And we're going to see that trend continue as wind energy technology advances and costs continue to decline.
Right.
Offshore wind in particular has enormous potential.
Now, the book doesn't shy away from some of the controversies surrounding wind turbines.
Yeah.
It mentions the environmental impact of using steel and concrete for construction.
It's a good reminder that even renewable energy technologies have a footprint, and it's important to continuously improve those processes to minimize any negative impacts.
And they bring up the protests that sometimes happen against wind farms, with people objecting to their appearance noise and potential harm to birds.
These are legitimate concerns,
Yeah.
and having open discussions about the trade-offs involved is crucial.
Uh-huh.
It's not about pretending there are no downsides. It's about weighing those against the benefits and striving for the most sustainable solutions.
The book even poses some thought-provoking questions for the reader.
Okay.
Like, are coal-fired power plants really any prettier?
That's a good one.
Or are we only okay with wind turbines if they're not in our backyard?
Those are great questions to get kids and, frankly, all of us
Right.
thinking about where our energy comes from and the complexities involved in transitioning to a more sustainable future.
And the book wraps up the wind energy section with a powerful message.
Yeah.
If everyone were more energy independent and reduced their consumption,
Yeah.
we wouldn't even need these massive wind farms.
That's a crucial point.
It highlights personal responsibility and the importance of conservation as part of the solution.
It's not just about large-scale infrastructure changes.
Right.
It's about each of us making conscious choices in our daily lives to reduce our energy footprint.
Exactly.
And it's something we can all start doing right now.
Okay, so we've covered solar and wind energy.
Right.
Next up, we're diving into the world of hydropower.
This is where those historical connections really come into play.
Yeah.
Get ready for some fascinating insights into how we've been harnessing the power of water for centuries.
All right, so the book jumps into hydropower, and what's cool is how they connect it back to ancient water mills.
Uh-huh.
You know, it shows that we've been tapping into water power for centuries,
Right.
even before electricity was a thing.
It's a great example of how humans have always been drawn to harnessing natural forces.
Yeah.
And the book does a good job of explaining how those ancient principles have evolved into modern hydropower plants.
Yeah, they clearly lay out the two main types of hydropower plants,
Okay.
storage and run-of-river.
All right.
The book describes storage plants as the most common type,
Uh-huh.
and those rely on a dam to create a reservoir,
Right.
basically storing a bunch of water at a higher elevation.
Exactly. And that stored water becomes potential energy just waiting to be released.
Right.
When power is needed, they release water from the reservoir through these large pipes called penstalks.
Okay.
And that rushing water spins a turbine,
Hmm.
which in turn powers a generator.
It's like a controlled waterfall. And then after the water spins the turbine, it flows back into the river or lake below.
Right.
The book really emphasizes how the ability to store water in a reservoir gives these storage plants a ton of flexibility
Yeah.
because they can generate power on demand even when natural water flow is low.
That flexibility is key, especially as we're dealing with the variability of other renewable sources like solar and wind.
Right.
Storage hydropower can help balance the grid and ensure a consistent supply of electricity.
The other type of hydropower plant they describe is the run-of-river plant,
Okay.
and those are built directly on a river without the need for a huge reservoir.
Right, so they're relying on the natural flow of the river to spin the turbines.
Yeah.
It's a simpler setup. But it also means they're more dependent on consistent water flow, which can fluctuate with seasons and rainfall.
So storage plants offer more control, but run-of-river plants have a smaller footprint, right?
Exactly.
Each type has its pros and cons, and the best choice depends on the specific location and energy needs.
Exactly, and the book does a good job of highlighting the overall benefits of hydropower.
Yeah.
It's renewable, clean, and doesn't produce those nasty greenhouse gas emissions.
Right.
It's a stark contrast to fossil fuel power plants, which are major contributors to climate change.
Totally. But of course, no energy source is without its challenges.
Right.
The book briefly mentions the environmental impact of dams, especially on river ecosystems and fish migration.
That's an important consideration, and it's an area where we're seeing a lot of innovation.
Yeah.
There are ongoing efforts to develop more fish-friendly dam designs and find ways to mitigate those ecological impacts.
It's about finding that balance between our energy needs and protecting the environment.
Exactly.
And speaking of finding balance, let's move on to geothermal energy, which I have to admit was the one I knew the least about before diving into this book.
It's often the overlooked renewable energy source, but it has incredible potential, especially as we move towards decarbonizing our heating and cooling systems.
The book defines geothermal energy as harnessing the Earth's internal heat. And they use the example of naturally occurring hot springs, like those found in Iceland or Yellowstone National Park.
It's a great way to visualize that the Earth itself is a giant heat source, constantly generating thermal energy from within.
Right.
And it's that heat that we can tap into for geothermal energy.
So the book explains that geothermal wells are drilled deep into the Earth's crust to access this heat.
Okay.
Then water, or sometimes another fluid, is pumped down these wells where it gets superheated by the surrounding rocks.
It's like creating an artificial hot spring.
Yeah?
And as the water heats up, it rises back to the surface, carrying that precious thermal energy with it.
And once that hot water reaches the surface, it can be used directly for heating buildings or greenhouses.
Right.
Or it can be used to generate electricity.
The book even mentions a closed-loop system where the cooled water is pumped back down into the geothermal reservoir,
Ah,
ensuring a continuous and sustainable cycle.
it's like a massive underground boiler, but way cleaner and more sustainable.
Exactly.
And they highlight all those benefits. Geothermal energy is constant, not affected by weather, produces no emissions, and has a relatively small land footprint.
It's a pretty impressive list of advantages.
Yeah,
But like any technology, it has its limitations.
right.
The initial cost of drilling those deep geothermal wells can be a major barrier to entry.
Right. It's a significant upfront investment,
Hmm.
but it's important to remember that you're tapping into a renewable energy source that can provide decades of clean power.
And the technology is constantly improving, making drilling more efficient and cost-effective.
Wow.
Plus, there are ongoing efforts to explore new geothermal applications that don't require those super deep wells.
The book doesn't go too deep into those, but I know there's a lot of research happening around geothermal heat pumps, which can be used for heating and cooling buildings almost anywhere.
Exactly. And those systems tap into the relatively stable temperatures just a few feet below the ground.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that geothermal energy isn't limited to those volcanic regions with readily accessible hot springs.
That brings us to another fascinating aspect of renewable energy: wind power.
Ah.
The book does a great job of explaining how wind turbines work, even using simple analogies that a kid could understand.
I love the analogy they use to describe how the wind pushes against the blades.
Yeah.
Imagine holding your hand out of a moving car window.
Right.
You can feel that force, and that's essentially how wind turbines capture the wind's energy.
They break down those massive turbines into three main parts: the blades and the transmission system.
Uh-huh.
And they nail the importance of tower height, because higher up means stronger winds.
It's a subtle way of introducing the concept of wind shear, how wind speed increases with altitude.
Yeah.
They even use simple illustrations of a windsock and an anemometer to show how wind direction and speed are measured.
And they explain how the spinning blades power a generator, converting mechanical energy into electrical energy.
Right.
It's such a simple concept, yet so powerful.
The book even touches on the different types of wind farms, onshore and offshore. And those offshore wind farms harnessing the power of ocean winds are becoming increasingly popular.
They represent a vast potential source of clean energy,
Mm-hmm.
especially as technology continues to advance, and we're able to build turbines further out to sea.
But as with any large-scale energy project, there are environmental considerations to take into account.
Right. The book addresses those concerns head on.
Yeah.
It talks about the materials used for construction and the potential impact on birds.
They even present some opposing viewpoints, asking thought-provoking questions like, are coal-fired power plants really any prettier to look at?
Yeah.
It's all about encouraging critical thinking and getting people to weigh the benefits and drawbacks of different energy sources.
And ultimately, the book emphasizes that no matter which renewable energy source we're talking about, reducing our overall energy consumption is crucial.
Right.
They make a compelling case for energy self-reliance and conservation.
It's a powerful message that ties back to that personal responsibility theme we talked about earlier. We all have a role to play in transitioning to a more sustainable future, and it starts with making conscious choices in our daily lives.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from ancient water mills to cutting-edge wind turbines.
It is amazing.
It's incredible to see how far we've come in harnessing renewable energy, and even more exciting to think about what the future holds. So welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It's amazing to see how this children's book, sparked such a wide-ranging conversation.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of clear communication
Huh.
and the importance of revisiting those foundational concepts.
Even for those of us who thought we had a pretty good grasp on renewable energy.
Right. There's always something new to learn, and this book provides a fresh perspective.
One of the key takeaways for me is the sheer abundance of renewable energy resources out there.
Oh, absolutely. The sun, wind, water, Earth's heat.
These are powerful forces that can provide clean energy for generations to come.
Yeah, it's a message of hope and possibility
Right.
in the face of climate change.
It shows that, we have the solutions at hand.
Right. We just need to embrace them
Yeah.
and accelerate the transition to a more sustainable future.
And that's where innovation plays a crucial role.
Absolutely. The book touches on the constantly evolving technologies that are driving this transition.
Like advancements in solar panel efficiency.
Right, making them more powerful and affordable.
Or the development of larger and more cost-effective wind turbines, both on land and offshore.
And the exploration of new geothermal energy applications tapping into the Earth's heat in innovative ways.
It's an exciting field with immense potential for growth and innovation.
Absolutely.
What's particularly encouraging is how these innovations are driving down costs.
Right, making renewable energy increasingly accessible to more people around the world.
It's creating a positive feedback loop.
Yeah, as more people adopt renewable energy, demand increases, leading to further innovation and even lower prices.
It's a virtuous cycle that's propelling us towards a cleaner and more sustainable future. But technology is only part of the equation.
Right. The book rightly emphasizes the importance of supportive policies and government action.
Incentives, regulations, and investments can significantly accelerate the adoption of renewable energy.
Absolutely. It's about creating a favorable environment for the growth of the renewable energy sector.
And it's encouraging to see many countries stepping up,
Oh, yeah. Setting ambitious renewable energy targets
implementing policies that support clean energy development.
and investing in research and development to push the boundaries of what's possible.
These actions are sending a clear signal to the market that the future is renewable,
Absolutely.
but ultimately comes down to all of us.
Right.
This book, despite being for kids, reminds us that individual choices matter.
Absolutely.
By reducing our energy consumption
Making conscious decisions about the products we buy.
and supporting businesses and initiatives that align with a sustainable future,
We can each contribute to creating a culture of sustainability.
where renewable energy is not just a necessity, but a way of life.
A vision worth striving for.
A future powered by clean, abundant, and sustainable energy,
A future where we live in harmony with our planet.
and leave a legacy of a healthy and thriving Earth for generations to come.
It's a powerful message that transcends age and background.
It's a call to action for all of us.
Absolutely.
So as we conclude this deep dive into renewable energy,
I feel inspired.
let's carry these insights with us and continue to explore the exciting possibilities that lie ahead.
Because the future is in our hands.
And it's a future worth fighting for.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into renewable energy.
We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration.